China's civil authorities are to overhaul non-government orphanages nationwide after a deadly fire in central China's Henan province. 7 children were killed in a fire at an orphanage in Langkou County. The orphanage, run by a 48-year-old widow named Yuan Lihai, is believed to be unregistered. The woman has taken care of orphans and abandoned children since 1986, using money earned from working as a street vendor. Over the last 2 decades, she has adopted over 100 abandoned children. When the accident happened, she was living with 18 adopted children, and 8 of them were in the house. Yuan had taken the older ones to school or left them in the care of other people. The fire swept through the home, killing 4 children at the scene. The other 3 victims lost their lives on the way to the hospital. Yuan was also sent to hospital suffering a heart attack after she was questioned by police about the fire. Yuan's adoption of abandoned children has been a subject of controversy in the media and among local residents. She is accused of operating an illegal orphanage by the local government and blamed for a negligent act about the loss of 7 lives. What do net users think about this woman? And what can be reflected from this tragedy? And how does the adoption situation look like in Langkou and even in China? To get an idea, let's head over to the newsroom and our researcher, Julia Liu. Okay, Julia, first, I'm wondering why Yuan Lihai alone feels compelled to raise so many abandoned children. And despite the fact that there is not any governmental child welfare agency in that area to accept them, what about other families who can also consider adopting children?
Well, I have learned from the net users that it is difficult for an Audrey family to adopt an abandoned child through a legal channel, which leads to less adopters in China. A poster on QQ.com points out, according to the Adoption Act, there is a high threshold for adopting a child in China, which scares away many people who have intention of adopting. I once adopted a handicapped orphan, and the welfare center charged me 20,000 yuan, which is $3,200. Adopters help government to relieve social stress. However, they have to pay extra money instead of being rewarded. And Wen Zhu on the same website agrees. I thought about adopting a girl, but I was told I couldn't do it because I already had a child. Even if I just want to take an orphan to my home and take care of her for a couple of days, I encountered many restrictions. And Wen Ting from Guangdong also talks about his personal experience. I adopted a healthy child, which cost me 80,000 yuan, which is $13,000, for using my social connections and going through adopting procedures. Usually, healthy children are only allowed for foreigners to adopt. And a poster on Baidu.com points out another barrier for civil adoption. It is difficult for adopted children to get a permanent residence registration, and without it, they can't even go to school.
Well, some jurisprudence experts say Yuan may be sentenced to 7 years in jail for manslaughter, and Yuan is also accused by local civil affairs department for illegal adoption. What are net users' opinions about this? Does Yuan deserve the punishment?
Well, apparently, most of the posters can't either accept the blame taken on Yuan or the possibility of her in jail. Zhu Hailang 3 from Guangdong says directly, I support Yuan. The fire is just a tragedy occurred by accident. And the poster on 163.com points out, without Yuan's kindness, these abandoned children may have lost their lives a long time before the fire. It is undeniable that she has played the role of a child welfare center when the local area doesn't have an official one. And another poster, ZMDGZCL from Hunan, has this to say. If Yuan was sentenced guilty, it is equal to say truth, kindness, and beauty is guilty. The saying that no emotions involved in loss cannot be used as an excuse. And Liu Changsong has this question to ask. Yuan has been adopting children for quite a long time. Previously, the local government didn't point out that the adoption was illegal. How did her actions become illegal the moment the accident happened? And another poster on Sohu.com has this feeling. What abandoned children need most is love, and Yuan has it. Compared to some welfare centers which don't really care about abandoned children, Yuan is more qualified to adopt them. It is just her limited financial ability that restrains her from providing better living conditions to them. And Wang Xuejin hopes that Yuan could receive a light sentence, saying, if Yuan is really sentenced to 7 years in jail, it is not only a grief for Yuan and her family, but also a grief for China's civil philanthropy. People may want to keep away from charitable actions to avoid being someone pitiful like Yuan. And another poster on iPhone.com adds, Yuan is a role model the society approves. The accident is due to the lousy material condition and the backward safety senses in the local area. Instead of blaming her, we should help her take care of the children and carry forward her morality.
Well, Julia, if UN shouldn't take the blame, who should take responsibility for the loss of these young lives? What has been said on the online community?
Well, about this issue, Meng Fanda on Sina.com.cn has this to say. Tracing back, the biological parents of these abandoned children are the culprits. Perhaps they had dozens of reasons to do this at that time, but they should know this action would change a child's whole life. On the other hand, most net users think the local government should take blame for this, from what I've seen. Well, a poster, 末日审判, argues, the local government does not offer more help to the abandoned children. Instead, it pushes their social obligation and responsibility to the common people. And Bangzhu on 10086.cn agrees. On what position does the Lankao Civil Affairs Bureau put the right to life and people's livelihood? If it wants to pass the buck, the citizens won't approve it. An anonymous poster from Guangdong even says, I want to ask the Lankao County Magistrate County Party Secretary and leader of the local Civil Affairs Bureau resign from their positions immediately. And Hehua017 has this feeling. The government should criticize itself and pay respect to Yuan. And finally, a poster on XinhuaNet.com also points out the right thing to do for the local governments. To act up to requirements from the central government and the general public expectations, take the responsibility and resolve the problem is a wiser choice. Other government officials should also realize this and serve citizens better.
Thanks, Julia. And that was China Take researcher Julia Liu giving us some insight into this tragic story of a fire at an unlicensed orphanage. Next on China Take, some of the top trending phrases on China's most popular search engines.